for Proverbs 13. A wise son heareth his father's instruction, but a scorner heareth not rebuke. A man shall eat good by the fruit of his mouth, wise words and such, but the soul of the transgressors shall eat violence. And Cambridge made a note on the meaning of this. His desire, the transgressor's desire, is to inflict violence on others. Their whole lives, they seem to have that as their main priority. It shall be fed or satisfied by violence inflicted on him. He that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life, but he that openeth wide his lips shall have destruction. This is one of the key points that Solomon really tries to get across to the youth, but all people in general, and that is, if you don't have to say anything, it's best to not say anything. You'll even be accounted wise if you don't, which is also one of the Proverbs. Literally, it says that even a fool is counted wise if he just doesn't speak very much. The soul of the sluggard, the lazy man, desireth, and hath nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. A righteous man hateth lying, hates lies, but a wicked man is loathsome, and cometh to shame, even swims in lies seemingly. Righteousness keepeth him that is upright in the way, but wickedness overthroweth the sinner. There is that maketh himself rich, that person that makes himself rich, yet has nothing. There is also that him that maketh himself poor, yet hath great riches. Now, what's being said right here? Once again, according to Cambridge, this rendering has its highest illustration in Christ himself, and accords with the constant teaching of the New Testament. Some, however, would render feigneth himself, those in whom appear to be rich, yet really have poverty, and in both clauses makes himself out to be what he is not. But once again, coming back to Christ, he became poor, though he had the most riches of anyone ever. He actually, everything is his. So, I mean, he's the wealthiest, yet he became poor for our sakes. It's actually one of the most lovely things you could ever hear. Now for verse 8, the ransom of a man's life are his riches. Now this is speaking of a rich man. But the poor heareth not rebuke. And what's being said right here is that if a rich man is held captive, then they're going to ask a ransom for him. They know that there's more chance that he'll be taken captive. More danger will come upon him simply because he's a rich man. The poor heareth not rebuke, meaning that no one really wants to take a poor man hostage because they're not going to get anything out of him anyway. Just as Charles Ellicott noted about the poor heareth not rebuke or threatenings. He has no need to regard it, any kind of threats from the outside. His poverty and insignificance are his protection. Now for the next verse, the light of the righteous rejoiceth, but the lamp of the wicked shall be put out. Only by pride cometh contention, but with the well advised is wisdom. And you will see that happen, my friends. How the more proud a person is, the more contention will come into his life, the more disputes, the more arguments, the more people will come against him. But with those in whom are wise, they'll hold their peace, and people will see it as they shouldn't even endeavor to try to stir you up because you're probably not going to give in to their rage anyway. Verse 11, wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished. Now that's wealth that came by ill-gotten means, be it gambling, thievery. But he that gathereth by labor shall increase. That's honest, hard work. Hope deferred maketh the heart sick. Now listen to this particular proverb in verse 12. Hope deferred maketh the heart sick, but when the desire cometh, it is a tree of life. And I do like Pulpit's commentary on this. Hope deferred maketh the heart sick, meaning delay in the accomplishment of some much desired good occasion, sinking of the soul. You have this long desire for something in the immediate or the local sense, that is. In the general sense, we can apply this to if you're wanting to begin dating a woman or something, you see her as your wife, you really want to get with her, or vice versa, whatever. And it's not happening. It lingers on, sometimes for years and even many years, and it just keeps lingering. And then all of a sudden your spirits become very downtrodden due to such things. But there's also a much greater sense that comes from this, which we'll come to right here in just a second. So it's the delay in the accomplishment of some much desired good occasion, sinking of the spirits, languor, and despondence. Many refer this sentence to the impatient longing for heaven, which holy men feel. You may even feel this about the rapture. Man, we've heard about the rapture, we so want the Lord to take us, and we know that it's at any moment. Now, there's a lot of disputes on when it's going to be. I'm pre-trib rapture, so I do believe that it's an imminent event. But that being the first part of that proverb, always remember this one, my friends. But when the desire cometh, it is a tree of life. And how true that will be. Verse 13, whoso despiseth the word, that's the word of God, shall be destroyed. But he that feareth the commandment shall be rewarded. The law of the wise is a fountain of life, to depart from the snares of death. Good understanding giveth favor. But the way of transgressors is hard. It's going to be a very difficult path for such, like briars and thorns in their way. Every prudent man dealeth with knowledge, but a fool layeth open his folly. Oh, he's like an open book. He opens up and his folly is right there. He's making himself a target for all the evils surrounding him. A wicked messenger falleth into mischief, but a faithful ambassador is health. Now this is one and the same. Nowadays, we're given this very important message known as the gospel of Christ, and we are to go out into the world and tell others about and give others this great message. And you can take this first clause one of two ways. A wicked messenger falleth into mischief. That can be a backsliding Christian, or that can be a messenger of Satan, someone in whom gives a false doctrine. All of the same fall into mischief either way. But a faithful ambassador is health. Poverty and shame shall be to him that refuseth instruction. Poverty and shame. But he that regardeth reproof shall be honored. The desire accomplished is sweet to the soul, but it is abomination to fools to depart from evil. Now the meaning of verse 19 is much more shown in the second part of it, but it is abomination to fools to depart from evil. Just as Jamison Fawcett Brown simply put it, self-denial, which fools will not endure, is essential to success. And I find that is one of the key elements of the Christian life. And I suppose that it's the mature Christians that really begin to understand this, how you'll start to really see blessings whenever you start to deny what your flesh wants and begin to walk in the Spirit. God will bless you in every single part of your entire being. Trust me. But once that you start falling into those and you start giving the flesh everything that it wants, oh man, you'll start seeing everything begin to hit you again. I have been on both sides of the fence, and I'm telling you, my friends, deny yourself. Take up your cross and follow Christ. Do not walk after the flesh, after the lust. Deny them. Run if you must, away from them, and walk in the Spirit of God. Verse 20, very important right here, especially for the youth of today. He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. And that, en masse, that is the whole population of the world today.
Our lives are being turned upside down by our 15-year-old son, Dawson.
Dawson has gone from a preppy-style child, wearing boots, shoes, preppy clothes, and now he's trying to be gangster. Dawson is dangerous, and he's completely out of control. Soon after we moved, Dawson started hanging around with, to say the least, the wrong crowd. If you ask me, it's a bunch of thugs.
Dawson was caught distributing pot at school. He was expelled.
Dawson and his friends were caught giving pills to a girl at the local skating rink. Next thing I knew, the police were at our front door bringing Dawson home that night. I was furious. Dawson's become really fascinated with guns.
When you look at his social media page, it's full of him with guns and drugs. Now Dawson's been running away. Just a few weeks ago, Dawson disappeared. We contacted the police.
The local news even ran stories to be on the lookout for him.
Berkeley County deputies need your help to find a 15-year-old runaway. The sheriff's office says Dawson was last seen Monday morning.
After 6 days, the police did find Dawson.
Dawson refused to come back home with us. Dawson said he wanted to stay with his dad's sister, his Aunt Abby.
He was at my sister's house for 4 days, and he took her van and took off. He picked up a 13-year-old girlfriend. He was driving 110 miles an hour down the road and posting it to social media. We were able to track him down.
Now Dawson is back home. Our house is basically turned into a prison.
Dawson's staying in the house pretty much 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We've added extra security sensors and cameras. We're just watching his every move.
We even purchased cuffs to keep him in the house. We haven't used them yet. Now when I look at my son Dawson, I just don't know what to think. I'm afraid he's lost.
My biggest fear is he's gonna end up in jail or end up dead.
What is popular today? It's hip-hop, I guess, whatever, rock. It's in the movies, it's in the music. It's every single thing that is evil and wicked is thrown at these kids nowadays, thrown at the whole population, and then they get out to school, and everyone out there, they've been corrupted by the exact same propaganda. But you know, evil governments are ruling the world, and there's panic, and everyone is stressed, and everything's reaching a peak. So this is so important for today. This is one of the key messages to reach out and just to shout out to all the people, especially the youth. Walk with wise men. Listen to wise men, and you will not fall into the traps of these. I mean, you're actually listening to someone right now who, by his very look, my very appearance, I have I have 30 plus tattoos. I have hate written on my knuckles. Hate. Now the other one says they hate, but still, having hate on your knuckles forever is just a terrible, terrible thing. But that was my life. That's the way that I lived. I know what it's like to walk in with fools. I know what it's like to live with one and be one. And I corrupted others that would, hang out with me. I would corrupt them. And let me tell you, my friends, there's nothing but death at the end. I so desired to die. One day I woke up and the sun was shining, the birds were chirping. There was a beautiful day, much like today. And I remember I was so depressed that I desired for a meteor. I actually said this aloud. I said, I was laying on my bed, my face down. I didn't want to do anything. I said, I wish a meteor would hit the earth and destroy everyone. You seek death. And God says, those whom hate me love death. And that's where I was. Evil pursueth sinners, but to the righteous good shall be repaid. Now that's actually saying an awful lot right there, and I'm only going to spend a second. Evil pursueth sinners. It's not like sinners can just stay home and they'll be just fine where they're at. As long as they don't go outside, they're fine. No, evil will come to you. A good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children, and the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. Much food is in the tillage of the poor, but there is that is destroyed for want of judgment. And all that's saying, my friends, is that you may see a rich man who's got it all brought to ruin by dishonest practices. So bad dealings, whatever. He that spareth his rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chasteneth him betimes. Oh my goodness, how I wish that this was brought back. I got so many whoopings. My pastor friend, Eddie Bride, he says, oh, I did the circle dance a lot. You know how the mama will grab a hold of the arm of her little one and he'll start doing the circle dance. He'll start circling around her trying to get away from the switch. But this doesn't, have to literally mean that in the physical sense. This just means discipline. At the core of it, it just means discipline them. I actually believe that this meme is rather appropriate for this very subject. Kids who never have to earn anything will appreciate nothing. I cannot tell you how many times that I wound up out into the hayfield The tobacco field was primary. I would have to wake up pretty early, get out in the tobacco field. But man, I picked up one bale one time and it had a snake in it, but you cannot be deterred by that because you have other men around you. So I remember I kind of yelled out, and another more manlier man came around and picked it up. But it's just a black snake, it's not a big deal. But yeah, teach your kids hard work. Now for the closing verse. The righteous eateth to the satisfying of his soul, but the belly of the wicked shall want. And once again, I can point right back to the previous verse, and that is after a hard day's work, a meal that you would normally just eat up, take for granted, watch a movie and everything with, a meal at the end of a good day's work, that's the best meal that you're going to eat. Once again, hard work is very, very good for the soul, not just for the body, but for the soul. But the belly of the wicked shall want. How many of these rich people, they have all the money in the world, and they do all the drugs and all the parties and everything, and they eat the best of meals. Me and you, if we get a peanut butter, sandwich, I don't have any jelly, so it's just a peanut butter sandwich. But we're satisfied with that. But how many of them, they eat the finest meals and they only complain afterwards? They have just so many other troubles that they focus on. The belly of the wicked shall want.